Hi everyone, it's Maria, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the best books that were nonfiction I read in 2017. These books are not necessarily all the ones that came out this year. I didn't do that. These are just books that I got to this year that I really appreciated. Since last Nonfiction November, I have read 86 nonfiction books, which I think is really incredible. I was really proud of that number. Because I try and do half nonfiction, fiction. I think it really just made me feel very lucky to be literate. In the month of November, where Americans think of Thanksgiving, literacy is always one of my top favorite things to be thankful for, because it makes me feel like I have a superpower to climb into other people's lives, to learn, and this is why I like nonfiction. Anyway, enough about literacy and how exciting it is. You guys know that, otherwise you wouldn't be here. These are some books that I really appreciated this year that I wanted to tell you about. Some of them I will give categories to, and some of them I will not. Most of these I do not have books of. I read them once, and I'm not a huge rereader, but I got them at the library, and I just did not feel like hauling back there to get them so I could show you the cover. And yes, I still have not figured out how to put the stupid thumbnail there. I'm really sorry. Eventually I'll get to that. Maybe next year's goal. That said, here's the list for the best nonfiction that I read this year. And I'm actually going to start with the one that I think you definitely should get to. Mainly because if you teeter out and decide you don't want to listen to me talk about the rest of the books, I really, really want you to read this one. And it is Men We Reaped by Jesmyn Ward. I had read a little bit of Jesmyn Ward, The Fire Next Time. She put together and kind of edited that collection. And I appreciated her, but I had not read a book solely by her. And this is her memoir of basically a 5-year period of her life where she lost 5 African-American men that were close to her to various things. And in it, not only does she make you feel like you're living it with them. I mean, you can smell the sweat in the air, taste the blood in the mouth. I mean, she just is gritty and beautiful. And I don't know how many times I cried reading that book, but she just destroyed me. Men We Reaped was not only a good memoir, but it was also a great commentary on how interconnected social justice issues are. And unless we can take care of some root causes, they're not going to get better. And I just really think it was a timely read. It was so well done. So brava, Jesmyn Ward, you definitely get all of the points for that. Next up is a memoir, another one that made me cry, and this is At Home in the World by Tsh Oxenreider. I actually bought this in a copy for my mom and dad as a present. This is her talking about her family's trip around the world a couple years ago that they did. And what I appreciate about this book is not only does it make you feel like you were there. I'd been to several of the places she talked about, and she had it spot on, but described them way better than I could have. Again, it's one of those, you taste the food in your mouth. And I just love, especially when you're doing a travel book, that kind of descriptive writing. But she made you feel like you could focus on what mattered, and that it doesn't really matter where you are. Sometimes it's just matter how you connect to one another, and how you seek community in your life. And I just really, it was beautiful. It made me thankful for my own growing up, and it made me really encouraged to continue that trend with my own kids. So for this one, I will say this is one of the ones that really made me feel like I was doing something good. So that's always a good thing. At Home in the World. Next up is a book that taught me something. Taught me a lot of things, and I'm actually going to reread it again this month. How to Talk So Little Kids Will Listen by Joann Faber and Julie King. Again, I'm going through, I have 3 children, and one of them is almost 3, and she is way more stubborn than her brothers ever were. So this is just a very practical and even humorous at times guide on how to talk well, so you're just not that like Charlie Brown teacher voice in the background. So this was a good one for teaching me well. Ones, and this next category is just going to be social justice ones that I think are really important for right now. Not just social justice, but overall well-being, I think, are important. So I'm going to start with Shalom, Sistas, which I'm also doing a reread of this month as we start up our Book of Shalom book club. Look for the Goodreads link in the comments if you want to join up with us. Shalom, Sisters is by Osheta, and it's living wholeheartedly in a brokenhearted world. Again, with as much violence as going on in the last couple weeks, this is just, I wish I didn't have to keep saying this is a timely read, but it is. So this book really made me look at my own life, made me feel like I had some practical steps behind me. Again, one of those, I like books that make you not only think like I know things need to be done, but also how to do them well. And I really appreciated this book. It changed me a lot this year. Another one is Undivided, a Muslim daughter and her Christian mother's path to peace. Ugh. By Patricia and Alana Raybon. This book I have recommended to several people already this year because I thought it was done so well. I wish all conversations went like this, especially with the holidays coming up and so many people worried about getting along with relatives that they think differently on. This book was perfect. Patricia is the mother who's a Christian mom and I think a Christian writer. And her daughter, Alana, it has converted to Islam. And so they go back and forth each chapter talking about kind of their fears, trying to reconcile their differences, how to do new traditions together, how to do holidays together. It was so good, so informative. I learned a lot, but also just it made me feel encouraged and gave me some practical ideas as to how to enter into conversation with people who think very differently from me. So regardless of how you feel about Christianity or Islam, I thought it was a good model for different differences of beliefs. Another one is In the Country We Love, My Family Divided by Diane Guerrero. This is by an actress who wasn't Orange is the New Black, but she comes from a family of two immigrant parents who ended up getting deported when she was a child. And it talks about how she moved forward, how no one really kept track of her, how she had to kind of raise herself, and what that is like for a child who is trying to fit in this country, but knowing that her own parents are not welcome there anymore, how to go back to visit them, just the tensions that are there. And I thought, especially considering how many people are up in arms about immigration and refugees, it was a really great read. It makes you kind of enter into those shoes, and immigration is something that is very close to my heart. So another one, Muslim Girl Coming of Age Story by Amani Al-Khatahtbeh. She apparently has a blog, which I do not read. This book was another one that just put me into somebody else's shoes that I needed to be in and to learn about what that experience is like. We actually had a Muslim woman talk to our church for a little bit about her own experience and how there are similarities and how frustrating it is when people tell you what you think and it's not what you think, and blame you for things that are nothing to do with you. And I just thought, again, it was just one of those really timely books that I think more people need to read. I am getting more and more familiar with the Muslim faith because I'm trying. I'm trying to pick up the Quran and reading other writers that write from that perspective, because I think it's important to understand one another and also to talk to people who think like you and explain that certain labels that are forced on people are not their own labels. So that was another really good one. Zero Waste Home wins the prize for the book that destroyed my reality of life in a very good way. I talked to you a little bit about that in my last video, and I will be doing some more videos in the future about trying to live with less waste and minimalism and not buying things for a year. And Zero Waste Home was just such a good book to really cement some ideas in my head and to give me some practical steps to move forward. So that's another really great book that if you're slightly even considering moving towards that direction or worried about environmentalism, I thought it was a great book to read. Also very approachable, not judgy at all. Next up is going to be the most beautiful book I read was there's two. The first one is Sister and I in Alaska by Emily Carr. I had no idea about this Canadian artist who loved totem poles and loved that kind of culture and doing artwork. Apparently, she's very big in Canada. I had never heard of her in the States, but My Sister and I in Alaska is a travel sketchbook diary. She lived in the early 1900s, and it's just her funny sketches that she had sent back to a friend, and they later on published in the 80s, I think. Once they came to surface, and they realized that nobody had ever seen these, and it was just such a funny setup. I mean, she draws a little cartoon of her and her sister being seasick, her and her sister out on a hike, and there's a bear that like takes their clothes. And it was a fun read. I'm really excited about getting it for my in-laws who are going on an Alaskan cruise, because I think it's just kind of a fun book. That was a really, really fun, beautiful book. The other one, which I wouldn't say was fun, but was beautiful, was Audubon on the Wings of the World by Fabien Grolleau. I think it's, how you say it's a French name. This is about Audubon, who created the Audubon Society, very big in the States, although I don't think he's as well known across the other countries. Audubon was known for kind of his groundbreaking research on nature and especially birds. And this graphic memoir or graphic biography talks about how he sketched birds and how he stuffed them. So there's some things that were maybe a little bit disturbing reading about it. But other things that I appreciated about was just talking about, it showed a really good difference between the white man's version of what he thinks respect for nature looks like and a native perspective, because they kind of contrast the two at a couple of points in the book and really just made me stop and think. And I appreciated it while also learning about James Audubon and how he started off his career and how we know so much about bird anatomy because of him. And the last two that I'm going to talk about, three. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. This one has been on my TBR probably for 5 to 6 years, since everybody else started talking about it, and I just hadn't gotten to it. That book, not only was it a very groundbreaking history that I think more people should know about, but again, she did a great job of interconnecting how social justice issues have taken a long time to progress, how they've affected generations upon generations of people. I learned about medical things that I had no idea about, so props to her for teaching that well and making me actually care about it. I don't think that's something it takes a little bit longer for me to get into, and I really loved that. The last book I'm going to give an award to is Unmentionable, a Victorian Lady's Guide to Sex, Marriage, and Manners by Therese Oneill. This book was just a really fun read. A lot of trivia knowledge that I normally wouldn't have. I've quoted it several times to people, just saying like, well, no, it's good that we don't have to wear those clothes. Or even though hoop skirts look great, how do you think they went to the bathroom? Spoiler alert, they went commando. Like, just certain things that I was just really, it made me thankful to live in the now and not in the past. And another one that makes me thankful is Who Thought This Was a Good Idea and Other Questions About Working in the White House by Alyssa Mastromonaco. Yeah, it made me actually feel a little bit of pity for Trump having to walk into a position with so much intricacy and how you need to have good people working by you that know what's going on. It really made me appreciate how smoothly other presidencies have gone, and it made me at least have a little bit of pity for our president, which I desperately need to scrounge up every once in a while. So those are my reads that I really appreciated in 2017 for nonfiction. I would love to know in the comments if there are any nonfiction books that really stuck with you, ones that changed your life or changed your brain or made you feel something for somebody else that you didn't really know you felt before. So yeah, let me know in the comments, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.